It's our first Ask the Mayor program of 2022 with Beatrice Mayor Stan Wirth. Give us a call at 402-228-5924 if you happen to have a question or a topic you want to hear some discussion on. Well, Happy New Year, Mayor.
Happy New Year to you, Doug.
We were talking about when's the first snow going to get here, and lo and behold, first day of the new year.
Yeah, well, that's all your fault.
Yeah, I know.
You're the one that forecasted it. It's kind of a nasty snow with high winds and cold temperatures. And I think as far as what occurred in the city during that period of time, I think the crews did a really nice job of getting streets cleaned as quickly as they possibly could. They actually put down the kind of the pre-emergence, if you will, on the streets prior to that substance that will melt ice at a certain period of time. Kind of made the streets slick for just a little bit once they put that down.
A little greasy at
just
first.
a little greasy, yeah, it really was. But it did its job for the most part, and so it kind of limits the blading that actually has to be done.
I know I was out that morning, New Year's Day, about 5:30 or 6, and it kind of was late arriving, but all trucks were already out, and they were, when it did get here, I know it kind of blew around, so they had to kind of go over a few curbs and areas to kind of redo it. But good job, especially that took place on a holiday. They were out Sunday too. They were out early Monday morning taking the ridges out of the downtown. So good job again.
Everything went real well. Used very little of the product that we have and the sand and salt that we have. So we've got plenty left over for the next one.
Yeah. So I was wondering with the Mars collection using the automated trucks now, is that, with, picking it up with a mechanical arm and everything, was that a problem at all with snow as far as the containers being in the right spot and getting to them? Or?
I think there were some glitches, sure. Was it widespread? No. I think it worked like it's supposed to. I saw a couple of containers that were tipped over after they were emptied, but I think it was just because as you put it down, there was an uneven surface, and the trash can maybe fell over, or the wind blew it over.
Yeah, it was pretty windy storm that day, but moved through quick, and back to 40s next week. That'll be kind of
perfect.
Nice.
I like it.
Yeah. Well, it is election season, and a couple of filings so far. One for your job. City Councilman Bob Morgan filing for mayor, and then yesterday, Dwayne Rue is seeking the Fourth Ward city position. Now is the time for people who are considering.
Filings are going to begin. If people are interested, I certainly encourage them to file for the position. Pleased that Bob Morgan did decide to run for mayor. He's in his 7th year as city councilman, so he has a leg up than much more so than what I did when I started, because there was quite a learning curve for me. He has been in the process now for, like I said, 7 years. If he's elected, he'll switch chairs with, he'll actually take my seat on December 3rd of this year. That's our first city council meeting in December. And I certainly throw my full support to Bob for his election bid process. I think there's a variety of reasons because, number one, he has the respect of the rule of law. Confident that he will comply with all the legal requirements in all the jurisdictions in our community. And he's a good listener. He's a good communicator. He's done that for a long time when he was campus director for Southeast Community College. He's knowledgeable about budgets. He has sat through our budgetary process with the city now for some time, and certainly understands the restraints on the dollars that we have and how we utilize them. And I just think that he has the skills and capabilities to navigate through not only the financial picture of our community, but also has the ability to communicate with city councilmen and kind of convey the same ideas and philosophies that I have, and that's to better improve our community.
You both live in the same ward. He could take your seat, and you could run for city council now, couldn't you?
Well, I could, but
Don't want to?
Well, I didn't say that. what
I was trying to read your look there for a second.
What I'm saying is, I think that there are other folks that maybe need to have the opportunity to serve.
There you go. Okay.
How was that?
Yeah, diplomatic. Nice answer there. But we'll be finishing your second term. You mentioned going back that you didn't have maybe the experience he has, but as you've gone through that, has the job gotten easier mixing your regular duties day to day with the duties you do with the city?
And not spending quite as much time as I did early on. Now, I did prep myself early on, and I went out to all the well fields. I went out down to the waste water treatment center and watched the grit machine work and all the snails and the disagreeable stuff that was coming up, just to, I guess, educate myself as to the operations of the city, the different facets of our community. It's not just going to city council meetings, and it's just not imposing ordinances and resolutions. It is about how you take care of the operation of the city, so people have electricity, so they have water, so they have sewer. There's just a lot to it.
Yeah, you're a policy maker with the council, and you'll rely on good department heads and city staff to do the job. But it does pay to know kind of what they do.
Absolutely, and you brought up department heads. I think the city is extremely fortunate to have the crew and the staff that we do today. To take care of our community the best that they know how. They've been doing it a long time, and who better to take care of the street department? Who's better to take care of the electric department than those that have had that longevity?
All right. Payment on the fire station made Monday night on your consent agenda. Substantial completion of the project since the department's moved in there. Everything going pretty well so far?
Seems to. Had just a little bit of a glitch with heating in a couple of rooms. And so I think that was fixed this week. Some of the rooms were just a little chillier than others. And so I think that has been fixed. The communication seems to be working fine. There's a couple of other little minor things that, maybe there's a door that isn't closing like it's supposed to or properly. And so there's just a little bit on the punch list that needs to be completed yet.
Have you had any discussions with firefighters about, when they exit or enter the station, is it a lot easier than it was before? I mean, they have good sight distance and everything like that.
Good sight distance, and they don't have to navigate one-way streets.
Yeah.
And that is a big, big plus.
Okay. 402-228-5924 if you have a question for Stan Wirth on Ask the Mayor. Back on Ask the Mayor today with Beatrice Mayor Stan Wirth, 228-5924 if you have a question on our first city program of 2022. Council's consent agenda on Monday night. Some appointments were approved to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Also, the appointment of a deputy treasurer and deputy clerk. P&Z members had some experience on that.
They have. And I'm pleased again that they have decided to go ahead and accept the appointment again for another term. Rodney Aiden, Alan Fetty, and Mike Honey, all three agreed to serve again. They have been on the Planning and Zoning Commission for a long time. That is a very complicated, detailed board to be on. And I know that full well since I was on that Planning and Zoning Commission for a number of years as a board member and then as their chairman. It is something that there's something that changes all the time. You have to be willing to make some modifications where necessary. And obviously you have to be, really straight up with yourself and with the council, because they make recommendations to the council that this is what needs to be done for proper planning of our community.
They deal with things like zoning and stuff like that, or replatting and things like that. You see quite a few of those come
just a
before the
variety
council.
of things that they actually have the responsibility for.
They normally meet right before your council meeting, don't
They
they?
do. Same day, just about an hour before our city council meeting.
Okay. Also, Deputy Treasurer Hannah Bell reported,
Mm-hmm.
and then Amanda Kuhlman, Deputy City Clerk.
Again, there's longevity there. Hannah has been there 7 years. Not sure exactly how long Amanda has been there. But again, that continuity is really important when we, again, have a lot of moving parts in our community.
And Hannah is becoming the new finance director.
She is.
Too,
Yep.
so.
She had good tutelage under Linda Cook. Linda Cook's last day actually is today, I believe.
Is it really?
And there'll be a little bit of a reception at the City Hall tomorrow.
I see.
Yep.
Well, we wish her a happy retirement. I know
Absolutely.
she's exceeded the 4-decade stage, and then not many of those people around.
That's exactly
that
right. And
much
to
experience.
segue with that, I think it's important to note again that because of her duties and her function and her staff that she works with, the Government Finance Offices of the United States has awarded the Certificate of Achievement again for excellence in financial reporting to the city of Beatrice. So that's kind of a nice feather in our cap, and I think that is like 30 of them.
30 years running, yeah.
So that tells you that finances of our community has been held in check, and there's other people that recognize that.
And you know, sometimes people have a tendency to say, well, government spends too much, it doesn't know what it's doing, but not here.
Well, not according
30th.
to this, and this really is the highest form of recognition in area government accounting and financial reporting. So
Okay.
to me, it's a big deal.
COVID update. We hear all kinds of things about, of course, the variant, the Omicron variant, the surge in Delta cases in some areas. You see some organizations going back to steps such as mandatory testing or masking indoors. I think the university had made an announcement yesterday in its second semester that it's going to be doing masking. From the city of Beatrice standpoint, as it affects staff here, what can you say about, how the COVID situation's been, say, the past month or so?
Well, I think it's fair to note that we've had a couple of individuals who had tested positive and did the proper quarantining and received medical treatment when necessary. But for the most part, it has been very limited, and offices are still open just like they normally have been. And we don't expect to change that unless something really drastic occurs.
Now, you're a member of Health Board, chair that board. You foresee that maybe just meetings to sort of kind of overview things this year at some point? Or
Well, maybe at some point. At this point, I don't think it's necessary to call a meeting. But again, I think we have to be very well aware that if things transpire and spiral in the wrong direction, that we'll call a meeting and discuss what maybe our options are.
Okay. Well, hopefully everybody kind of takes the precautions they can as much as they can, and the health of the community and government itself remains good, and we'll kind of work through it, and hopefully one of these days we don't have to even
We
talk
don't have
about
to worry
this.
about it. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yes, maybe a ways off, but that may happen. Last year, you received a couple of grants. Second, downtown redevelopment grant for a combination of private-public projects, and then also one for owner-occupied housing rehab. Of course, you're going through the situation of setting up the structure for evaluating applications. Have you gotten any applications
We have.
so far?
We've actually received quite a few applications. I think we've had 4 withdrawals. So that opens the door up for someone else to make an application. And I'm talking about the Downtown Revitalization Grant now. We also have the grant to upgrade and repair some homes for those that meet different income standards, and we have quite a few applications for that. Matter of fact, had a lady in my office just this week wanting to know where to pick up an application because of some issues that she is having with her home. So the word is out there that it is a possibility, and I think that it is something that we want to encourage folks to actually find more out about. The Downtown Revitalization Grant deadline is today, and today's January 6th, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so it is today, and now, as people or as property owners, decide they don't want to follow the processes that are involved, then that opens, again, like I said, the door to somebody else to make an application, and there will be a consideration. There's a team of individuals that will take a look at these applications and kind of pick and choose which one more rises to the top of who's going to get the money.
And setting up the committees to review those, was the goal just to kind of get kind of a pretty good cross-section of experience on there?
Absolutely. You don't want to give it the flavor that just the city council or city administration is going to make the decisions. We have some public input of private individuals who will sit on that committee, both for downtown revitalization and also for the grant to help repair homes that are in disrepair.
On the home rehab grant, is the application a pretty simple one as far as what you need to fill out?
Both applications are pretty simple. They are. And you just basically name an address, telephone number, and what the problem is.
I see.
And that's pretty simple.
Then on the owner-occupied one, they kind of figure out the income limits and things like that.
They do. Now, we'll use the Southeast Nebraska
Development District?
Development District to make those determinations. Thank you, Doug. Sometimes
trying to remember the acronym.
Sometimes the acronyms run together. Yeah. But they will take the application. They'll go through the process with the individual and or property owner, go through the income standards, and then what needs to be done, what needs to be met. They hire the contractor. They do it all.
Okay. 228-5924. We're with Ask the Mayor, Mayor Stan Wirth today. Give us a call. I have time to get in a question here. Stan Wirth on our first program of the new year, 2022. I think we touched on it a little bit the last time you were in, but there's a lot of things that got accomplished this past year. And I guess as they're going on, you don't really think about the level of work that's being done. But then you add it all up at the end of the year and you look at an administrator's report, and it's like 3 or 4 pages long.
Yeah, there was a lot of things that were accomplished. And I think we don't dwell on them all that much. You celebrate those accomplishments, and then you move on to the next thing because there's always something more to do. And I think it's important to note that the My Place Hotel opened up this year. And that was something that, because of a hotel study that Engage did, showed that there was a need for another hotel, and local investors took note of that, and they built the new hotel. Fire station, obviously, is the one that is something that we've talked about numerous times. They're in there now, and again, we celebrated that, and we're going to move on to the next task at hand. Getting the Earl May building occupied, I think, is a real plus for the east end of Beatrice. Excuse me. We talked about the downtown revitalization grant and the grant to improve homes across our community. State revolving loan fund that we received from the state of Nebraska of $7 million to improve the water systems and the water, the anticipated water quality of our community, and that is really important and a great step. Zephyr Towers, national company that has chose to stay here. City worked with them on transferring some property so that they would be incentivized to build their facility. They're building a really nice building out in the industrial park. Haven't driven out there. Drive out there. It's pretty impressive. It's right across the street from...
very modern-looking building.
Very modern-looking building. It's right across the street from Hybrid Turkeys. So, 78-unit complex, apartment complex that's going in at 6th and Irving Street. The exit from Nebraska Public Power actually occurred January 1st of this year. So we're 100% with American energy providers out of Columbus, Ohio. And that move was made because we didn't want to get into another 25-year contract with Nebraska Public Power. AEP has locked our rates in for the next 7 years. It's like we know what our costs are going to be, just like if you had a 7-year mortgage on your house. You know what your payment is going to be.
Much easier to plan.
Much easier to plan. And last year alone, we saved over $1 million.
Wow.
And we weren't 100% away from NPPD, so we're looking for good things to come. So there's a lot of things that I think has occurred during this past year, and again, more things to do.
You know, you mentioned that apartment complex, which really has been taking shape. I mean, you get a really good look at it now at the level of construction that's at. How do you see in 2022 the potential of business coming in around that, being that, you know, a lot of people potentially going to be living there, and you've got walking traffic that could use area next to it.
And I think that is the long-range plan.
Mm-hmm.
And my hope is that it's a little more of a short-range plan. But once that is finished, once it is occupied, once you have cars all over out there, I think that is going to give the investors that own the property just to the north just a little bit of an indicator of what could be.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that is certainly something that is going to attract business to the community.
Monday night, you had quite a discussion regarding possible regulations on food trucks, which have become popular in the Beatrice area and other areas for that matter. One of the main questions or topics that came up during that discussion is, why are you doing it? What's the reason for it in the first place?
Yeah.
How do you see that?
Yeah. Well, look, as I mentioned Monday night, not one city council member or myself want to put the brakes on food trucks coming to our community. Nothing could be further from the truth. And the agenda item was for discussion purposes, not passing some type of a ordinance that would be burdensome to the food truck owners. It was for discussion purposes only, to bring out different ideas, bring out different avenues that we could try to agree upon and make some type of compromise if we could. I think that we need to establish a reciprocity system so that the food truck owners do not have to obtain business licenses in each community. We'd hope that each community would recognize those particular licenses. It would help streamline the process. It would streamline the process for city administration. I think that it's necessary that if you're going to be on private property, that if I was a private property owner and a food truck is there, I'd certainly want to make sure that there was insurance covering that food truck and anything that may occur. Same way with food trucks that are located on city property. Want to make sure that they're indemnified, or the city is indemnified, of any type of incidents that may happen while that food truck is on city property. Again, we're not trying to discourage food trucks whatsoever. There are 8 or 9 other communities in the state of Nebraska that have different regulations. And I think helping navigate through all those different regulations, or at least streamlining those regulations, is really important. I think there needs to be some oversight, but it doesn't have to be burdensome.
Seems like fees and also maybe how detailed the application process were a couple of the other issues.
Yeah, and that can be pared down substantially. These were just suggestions, and the whole idea was to get input from the public and saying, okay, we like this, we don't like this, and come to some type of a compromise that everybody can live with.
As far as timing on that, when that might come back before the council, are you looking this month or maybe later on? Or
it could happen as early as this month to come back, and I think on the 17th we have another city council meeting. It very possible. We'll just have to see how far our city attorney gets with maybe doing some modifications. That is agreeable to everybody. And fee income is not a big deal. You know, with a $44 million budget, a couple of $1,000s a year isn't going to
2 food trucks or 3 is not going to.
It's not going to move the needle very much. So it's not fee oriented. So that needs to be quelled right now.
Well, you know, one of the speaking of that, the annual fees that you did study of the 7 or 8 communities out there, I think the highest was somewhere around. It was in the hundreds, $350, $450, or $500, or something like that.
It was, yeah.
But there were ones on the $75 side. So
Yeah.
it's kind of all over the map a
Yeah.
little bit.
And quite frankly, I don't care if there's a fee charged at all.
Yeah.
I think, however, we need to make sure that we know who's in town. We know that they are state inspected by the state health department because, again, you have to protect the public with those food sources. And we want to make sure that there is some type of liability insurance, especially if they're on city property.
Well, January 6th, 1 year ago, we were all kind of sitting around doing our things during work days, and afternoon we turn on the TV, maybe have a monitor on somewhere, and you see the riot at the U.S. Capitol that
Yeah.
day. What were you doing that day, and did you see that?
Sitting in my office, and got a text on my phone from one of the news sources, and so turned the television on in my office and watched it. Actually couldn't believe what I was seeing.
Yeah.
It was something that you would see in a different country, in a third world country, where folks were upset for one reason or another, and it was just kind of hard to watch.
Yeah. Did that set off, I know it did at the state level a little bit in terms of security concerns, but did you ever have, discussions with your police officers or firefighters about, what happens if something like this gets kind of transported more to a local level or something? Was there ever any discussion of that?
And I'm sure there was. I certainly wasn't involved in those discussions. We certainly leave that up to the fire chief and police department, or the police chief, to discuss that with their officers. They know how to speak that language more than I do. But I can't say whether that or not they had those conversations, but my guess is they did.
Yeah. Well, you hope that in 2022 everybody gets along a little bit better and it's not quite as controversial as 21 was, because we had the COVID thing and everything too, dealing with it. A lot of things going on that put people at odds with each other.
People are angry right now,
Yeah.
and there are reasons for it. I think that there is. I think the biggest hurdle we're going to have is how we fix it.
Yeah.
That's going to take a long, long time, and it's going to take leadership that's going to be able to cooperate with the public at large.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mayor, thanks for being with us on our first show of 2022.
Thanks, Doug.
Mayor Stan Wirth on Ask the Mayor. You can call us anytime during the week, by the way, with a question at 402-228-5924. We'll pass that along to the mayor on our next program.